I have a question before we start. Is it okay?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So slowly changing dimension.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it considered an
Right.
advanced topic? So you are gonna give some introduction to it, how it's being handled in QlikView?
Okay. I mean, the incremental load that we spoke about is slowly changing dimension, right? So yesterday when we spoke about it, so we spoke about how do we basically update the incremental QEDs while there is historic data changing. So like I discussed all the three types, right? So there are kind of three types of slowly changing dimension. Right, so let's skip that discussion more.
The thing is we need to have a start and end date concepts, then you have to remap the relationship, right? So this kind of thing is just, is it a particular way or is it a specific way that QlikView is doing, or is it's just similar to a data warehouse, typical data warehouse?
It's similar to data warehouse. It's typical data warehouse. Yeah.
The typical,
nothing, Yeah, there's nothing different that QlikView will do. So it's the same logic that you apply in your data warehouse, you apply the same logic over here. So there's no difference. Now advanced depends, advanced is something that is the next level of how you want to optimize that coding. When you're writing scripting, right? How you optimize your transformations in ETL. So that's the next advanced level. So I think that will be like, you will get there over a period of time. So, but I think the slowly changing dimension is nothing but the incremental concept that we discussed. I mean, there are, I think, I don't know the exact types of slowly changing dimension. Type 1 is new records only.
Type 2, 3.
Type 2 is update and new records. And type 3, I think, is delete, update, and new records, right? So we spoke about all the three. So the same concept that you apply. Okay, so we build our data model. So we have our data model. Now in QlikView, there are a couple of security methods. So we'll see the last, basically, security. So security is what? In QlikView, there are a couple of security methods. Now to begin with, I'll just give you an overview, then we'll do it at the document level. So there is there's authentication, authorization. Okay. Authentication is somebody to log in to QlikView. Okay. Log into QlikView. Okay. Authorization is basically what a person needs to know. So there are two distinct like these things. So generally a lot of people confuse thinking that authentication is authorization, but it's not a QlikView terminology or QlikView logic. It's a standard thing. So authentication is is to find out who you are, and authorization is what you need to do or what you can use or what you can do. So it's the same application in QlikView too. Now in this case, what happens is, suppose we have, so QlikView, somebody logs in, a user 1 logs into QlikView, and you give him authentication to see QlikView apps. Okay. He logs in, so he has authentication. This is generally done by Active Directory. So you assign a user. Now the next part is authorization. Now, authorization is like you have QEW1, QEW2, QEW3, right? So you'll have multiple QEWs in your organization. Now authorization is which QEW he needs to access. So he might need to access this, whatever one, this he should not access, right? So when the user logs in, QlikView will do the authentication and also the authorization as to, okay, he has to see two. Now QlikView doesn't do both. So this mainly authentication is done by Active Directory. It is integrated to any system's existing Active Directory. You have to do it. Authorization is what QlikView does. Based on that login, it will say, okay, this user has access only for QlikView 1 and 2. He does not have access for QlikView 3. Right. So this is the first level, this is the second level. Right. Now on the server, so this authorization, which person needs to access which QEW, is done on the server. It's the server management console. So on the server management console, in the document properties, you apply, okay, so you say as you distribute the document to this user. Distribute in the sense, you give access authorization to this user to see these two. So you do it. Now, once he logs in, so once user 1, okay, this is user 1. Once the user 1 logs into QEW 1, right? So he is logged in, he is successfully authorized to see this document. Now, in this document, you will have data for north, east, west, and south, right? Further, you can define, right, what this person has to see. Either he sees north and he sees only north and east, right? The others he should not see. He should not see west and south. It's the same for other users too. So when you start defining users, so the first level login, second level which QEW he sees, that is done on server. Now this is called as a data level security. So this last part is called as data level security, and it is achieved by section access in QlikView scripting. So this one is at the document level, at the scripting level. So it's purely at the document and scripting level. This is what we'll see today. Over here, like this northeast, right? It is not only one field that you can control. Within north, you can control a couple of fields. So in north, you can say Delhi. In east, you can say West Bengal. I mean a specific district in north. So you can split more further down. So you can go to the most granular level. Suppose you have 10 records, right? So you have 1 2 records. Now you can actually define which all records the user can see. If the user has authorization to see only 2 records, he gets to see only 2 records. So this is called as section access in QlikView, and this is done purely at the document level. Any questions? Now coming back to the document. So this is, like I said, it's purely done in QlikView scripting. So either we do it at the data model level or at the application level. Now for demonstration, I'm doing at the data models level. Now let's go ahead and see this. What I'm going to do is, I have restricted the territory in this script. I'm not going to do that. Or I can just comment this territory exit where exists here. Now in this application, you see that we have all the territories. So we have 1 to 10 territory. Okay. Let's just copy this into another sheet. So I have territory. I don't have month. Territory details. Okay. It's just the name and number. Now I'm going to create a couple of users who when log in should be able to see only certain territories. So I'm going to say user 1. Let's create. Now in QlikView, what if you have to do section access? You go to the script editor. Always go to the main tab. So it's basically scripting. So the script for section access has to be at the top of all the scripts. So it should be the first script in the application. You go to the main tab. On top you have insert, section access, inline table. Okay. So what this does is it will give you an option to select a certain table. You can go with basic. So it is by default access and entity name. When you're doing it with the Active Directory logins, right? So you'll have to use the entity name. The entity name is nothing but the Active Directory Windows ID. Right now I don't have an Active Directory. I'm gonna just go with the user ID password. And I'm gonna select one field. Omit has nothing to do with what I'm gonna do, but I'm just creating a placeholder kind of a thing. Now it gives you a table pop-up to enter. So you'll have to update the entire table with the user ID password. And instead of in the place of omit, I'm gonna update the territory ID. Now I have to update the password for testing. I'm using the same user ID and password. I will make one admin account. Okay. Access defines what kind of access does a person use. Admin is like full access. You don't have to define anything. Then user 1, user 2, or not all user. So they are user access. Right. I've defined this table. I'll say okay. Yeah, one best practice that you always have to follow is always create backup of the file that you're working for section access. The reason is once you lock yourself with section access, that means either your passwords or anything is wrong and you're not able to access, there's no way that you can access. So once locked file is a locked file with section access. So best is please always create multiple copies. Now I define the user. Now few basic rules are these headers, right, always have to be in caps. So whatever you're using is caps. Now whatever links that you use like territory ID and certain things, I would suggest go ahead and use this as the number, make sure you're using numeric values. Now we are going to use simple QlikView's associative property. So if you know associative property, I think I started at the wrong point. I'm going to read to this. I'll come back to this. Meanwhile, I'll just update that table over here without any section access. The territory. Now imagine if I'm loading a load table, just normal test with user, username, password, terry ID, and I save it. I'll reload it. Now what happens is QlikView's associative property will link it up, right? So the table is loaded as a separate territory table. So it will get linked to that to the territory based on the link. So over here, if you see this, that territory test that I loaded is linked over here based on terry ID. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what happens is based on the links associations formed. Now if I select a particular user, right? If I select a user, say user 5, only 5 is highlighted, right? Only the data related to this user is highlighted. It is the same logic that we are going to use for the section access. Instead of linking it as a separate table, when we declare it as a section access, that table is not going to be visible. So for that one reason, this column headers, right, should match. So you need to have a terry ID in your database or whatever loads you do. I'm coming. Now the moment the statement is between this section access and section application, right? Whatever is there, whatever tables you load, will not be visible in the script. These are like invisible tables. The section access will always be hidden. So now I am loading it. This time I'm not loading it as test, I'm loading it as section access. Let's see what it comes up with. So if you look at it, that table is not here. So it is nowhere existing. Right? So Terry ID, it's nowhere existing. Now, but to enable the security access, so when I close this application and open, I'll have to go to settings. Once my script is executed, I'll have to go to settings, document properties, opening. I'll have to say initial data reduction based on section access, strict exclusion. I'll say apply. We'll have to check, always check this prohibit binary load too. This I will explain why, what is binary load. That time we will be able to understand it. I'll say okay. Now after you do this document settings, opening, prohibit binary load, just save the document, close it. You can go ahead and close it. Now when I open this application, it will ask for a password. So now I can type in any password. Now first let's test it with admin. So admin is a user ID that I have created, which will allow me to access all the territory IDs. I go back to section access, I double click. I'll say user 1. Password is also user 1. The user 1 logged in, he has access only to territory ID 1. So he is able to see the details only for Northwest. Right, so we have successfully achieved the section access part of it. Restricting the user to see. Suppose user 5 has access only to territory 5, it gets to Northeast. Now, whenever you want to edit this file, edit the section access part of it, go to this, you'll have to log in as an admin, right, and then update. Then update. The next question is, what if a user has access to 2 territories? It's the same logic. So update the records 2 times. Territory 4. Suppose user 4, user 3, maybe I'll give a couple of more access. Territory 9. And
Phrase twice, I believe.
Yeah, so I reloaded that, updated the access for territory for user 3 for a couple of territories. I just closed the file. I opened the wrong file. I opened the section access file. It says user 3, user 3. If you look at it, the territory, the user 3 has got access for all the 4 territories. Any questions here? This is the first part. Now what if you have to give him access? Like I said, right, you can go to the most granular level. When I say granular level, so it's like next level of territory ID. Now once you have given territory ID, so let's pick up ship method ID. So you might want to control which ship method ID he wants to go. Okay. So you can, like I said, ship method again, it has to be in caps. So whatever you're using, right, for for the section access, it has to be in caps. Right. All you have to do is add a column here. So you don't even have to do typically. So ship method ID is either 1 or 5. So you can start giving 1. Hi, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear now.
Yeah, you can hear that.
Yeah, I can hear now.
Okay, so 9, 10, like this 9, 10 is repeated because these are the territory which user 3 needs to get access for. That's why 9, 10 is repeated. Now I'm giving the access for ship method ID, so like I'm doing it. What I was explaining was, you don't have to necessarily, or it is not mandatory to have an inline load. Like I said, this table can be maintained in an Excel file, a database file, or from the Active Directory. So Active Directory is also a database only, right? So you can bring directly these profiles from Active Directory, but you have to have all these user ID, these headers, right, in caps. So if you don't have these in caps, the entire section access is going to fail. It's not going to work out. So now ship method ID is what I've linked. So it is not only 2. So the number of columns or number of data parameters that you want to give, you can add those number of columns over here. So there is no restriction as to number of columns. So reloading it now. This is one typical challenge that I always come across. So they say when I have to upload the access for a user, a lot of customers say that you have to do they don't really know that the refresh has to be done. For section access, whenever you want to add something, you have to do the refresh. User 3 is what we'll check. And if your combinations are illegal, you will not be able to log in. When I say illegal, so if I give ship method ID 6, right? Territory ID and there is no ship method ID 6. So that combination is illegal in the data. So it's not going to accept that. So let's see what ship method IDs have come, because I had specifically told a couple of them. Okay, 1 and 5 both. Now this 1 and 5 both have come, but it should not get, okay, it's not 1 and 5 for everything. It is basically for Australia. Okay. Okay, it's, I think the script say territory 3 is only 5. Some of the section access is not worked as intended. Let's log in as admin and check verify it. Or I'll use a different user. User 5 is accessing territory. So here the ship method ID is only 5. So it's got only 5. There it is basically for one particular territory, whatever ship method ID I have assigned, only those should come. Okay, I will see that later. But technically I have assigned territory 1, 5, right? That's why this is coming as only 5. For U5, it is territory 5. Territory 5 and ship method ID 5. Yeah, any questions here? Out of time these caps, these headers will not be caps, and there will be a mismatch. That's one of the reasons that section access will fail, might lock you out of the systems. So just be sure that these are all uppercase and they are linked appropriately to the right tables. Let's see why this user 3 didn't really work out. Okay, now it is working. I mean, it's brought in only 5. Now, like you see, whichever user I'm logging as, I'm able to see the script. It's not a right thing, right? So the restricting the data for a user, I don't want the user to understand what are the usernames and passwords. So in scripts, what we have is, we have something called as hidden scripts. So you can move this entire section access or whatever script, add a new tab. So over here you can go add a tab, say section access. Okay. Move this tab, update the script, and go to file, say create a script. It will ask you for a password. You can update any password that you want to. Now under hidden script, you can just update the section access. You don't have to create a separate tab. In fact, you can directly create a hidden script tab and you can go ahead and do this. Right now, when you save this, reload, even when you log in using your admin password, user ID and password, right? When you go to the script editor, the section access script is still hidden. So no matter which user logs in, the script is hidden. Now suppose the admin wants to edit the script, he will have to go to file. So change hidden script password, edit hidden script. It will ask for a password. Once you update the password for script, it will show you the hidden script. So most of the scripts in your demos and all are generally hidden. So if you don't find any script, the only thing they have done is they have hidden it. Right. So you'll have to unhide it first before editing it. So every time you close this editor and come back, you'll have to update your username and password. So those are the tiny things of QlikView, basically, or data modeling and security aspects. Let's save this. If you go back to our earlier architecture, right, so we discussed in the beginning, so there was this architecture where I said we're going to have a data model, we're going to have a UI application. So data model is something what we did till now. So we developed all the data, where, how, where, all the transformations, everything you did. Now the next step is basically the UI design. The UI design is done in the new application. So that what you do is you would start a new application, new QlikView application, and save it under the application folder. So whatever UI, you save it under the application folder. So you go to the application folder, start a new file, go ahead, save as. So you go to that particular application folder, say Adventure Works app, any name that you feel like. Now the Adventure Works app is done. Now this is my application. I'm going to start building my UI, but I need the data from the data model, right? So you don't create the script again, don't update anything. So you go to the edit script option. So you go to the script editor. So we saw table files, web files, connect to database, everything. So there is this option called QlikView file. You always check this relative path so that it takes the relative paths. Use this QlikView file option. Go to the data model section. Right, go to the data model folder, pick the data model file. So over here we have this data model, right? When you select this, what QlikView does is, it does a binary statement. Now this is the only statement that you want, you need to bring the data model from the data model file to this application. Technically bringing all the data. So I'll just say save, let me just run it and show it to you. It connected to the binary data model, it brought in. It's done within actually not even a second, fraction of seconds. The reload is done. Imagine in the data model stage we still took 1 or 2 minutes to reload, right? Here it is within fraction of seconds. That's the optimization in binary load. It's the fastest kind of a scenario. It's a very fastest load. Now you go back to the data model. you will have all the tables, whichever table was there in the data model, every table is here. Except for the variables, the entire data model is here. So that's the binary load statement that we use. Now if you remember just now in the security aspects when I was doing the section access, I told prohibit binary load. So what happens is I built a section access on the data model stage. If I don't check this prohibit binary load, anybody can do a binary load to the data model file and bring the data which he is not authorized to see in this application. So when I say whenever I am using section access, I enable prohibit binary load, nobody will be able to do a binary load to the QlikView application. So I am restricting binary load to that particular QlikView application. Now that we did a binary load, I got all the data. My next step is simple. Start creating graphs, charts, UI, everything, whatever I want to. So that's the binary load that I wanted to cover today. So it's one statement. You can have one file being loaded into multiple QEW files. Suppose one QEW file can be used as a binary file or a binary load file, source file into multiple QEWs. But one QEW application can't do a binary load from two. So binary load is always one statement and can be only one. You can't go ahead and do a second binary load from another file. So in one file, you can only have one binary statement, that's all. Right, any questions? No doubts? I was supposed to send you the curriculum. I'm sorry, I think I'm running a little.
So if you want to combine, sorry, question. So if you want to have a two model join together, I have to join it before I load it as a binary row. So I have to create another one, another layer. Right?
Right. Okay. You have to. There's no way that you can use two data models from two QEW files. Only thing is that you'll have to use the source QEDs.
Yeah. So can you go back? So if you go back to the Excel file, go back to your Excel file for the mapping. So if your script data model, we have a 1, 2, 3, 4. So I want to combine 1 and 2. So I create another one, something called 1 plus 2, let's say. Then
right.
if I want to load,
yeah,
if I want to refresh the data, 1 plus 2, let's say I'm creating something called QVW1 plus 2. And so if I refresh 1 plus 2 file, then it will refresh 1 and 2 automatically. And you talk to the QBD 5 and 6. That's how it works. How do I refresh the data? If I refresh let's say if a UI application, if I refresh data in UI application, it's going to refresh, go back and then refresh entire chain of the script.
No, the chain goes the other way around. So it is always the other way around. So the refreshing starts from this side and moves to this side.
Yeah. Well,
so
can I
start from here? You start.
Okay.
You can't initiate a UI. I mean, when you initiate a UI refresh, only the UI will be refreshed. If you want the entire data to refresh, you have to start from the extractor. So initiate the extractor and create the dependency. So once the extractor is done, QED's transformations will do. Once transformation is done, data model will be done. Once data model is done, UI application will be done. So it's always from like left to right kind of a scenario.
Okay, I think I'm still confused with the refreshing part. So let's say, okay, so I have to run QVW1 extractor first. Then the data will be refreshed, and then it will create all these QVD 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I have to refresh QVD 5 and 6. So I will have another QVW, then it will refresh it. So I cannot initiate the refresh from data model like QVW1. So if I click here, refresh, and it's going to only read from the QDB file. Okay, existing QVD file. Okay,
right. When you execute this, when you execute data model refresh, it will refresh from the QED file. But if you want the QED files to be refreshed, you initiate this transformation. Yeah, exactly. So that's the
Okay.
That's why in a production scenario, when you want, when you say that you refresh the data, you kickstart with QEW extractor file, and you create on successful completion of this parameter or this file. Run this. When this is completed, run this. When this is completed.
Okay. So I have to refresh each step, all these 5 or 4. Each section.
I mean, you basically put a timeline, you put a schedule for this, okay?
Yeah.
And you create dependency for the rest of the other.
Yeah. Okay.
You start creating dependency on this. So once this is successful, run this. Once transformation successful, run data model. When data model successful, run the UI application. This is the workflow that you will build. So you can, I mean, it's the workflow can't be the other way around. It has to be from the beginning. So you start this, you basically kickstart this extraction process. All the others will follow automatically. So you schedule it this.
Okay.
I mean, Alpana, I didn't understand the question. Can't do from one application. I didn't understand. What was that?
No, it's done. Taken care. The same questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. See, I mean, these are looking at different stages, but logically on the server, like I said, so let's do this. So on the server, I will have these many QEW files. Extractor. So this is my extractor QEW. This will be my transformation. This will be my data model, and this will be my UI. Now I'm not going to schedule every bit of it. I mean, I'm not going to try to put date and time for every file, okay? I'm just going to put date and time for extractor alone. So I'm going to say extractor has to be refreshed at every day 6 a.m., right? So it will start refreshing extractor. Once this is done, I create a dependency. So run this when extractor complete. Successful, basically. So it's the same thing. I create the dependency. So the moment the extractor starts and gets completed, whenever you kickstart the extractor, it gets completed, it will run. Now, meanwhile, if you go ahead and manually run the task only for UI, right, it will just refresh from the data model. If you run the task from the data model, it will refresh from the UI and from the QEDs and then run the UI. So it's like, because of the dependency, the moment you start the workflow anywhere in between, the rest of the workflow will be executed. So you start from data model, UI gets refreshed. You start from extractor, all of it gets refreshed. So it's basically how you want to configure it. It is purely dependent on you. So there is no set procedure or mandatory rules to program this. Thus, that brings us to closer, I mean, almost to the end of development. I think the next is the designer part. What I would suggest is go ahead and practice this section access and loading all the data and all. And probably from tomorrow we'll start off with the section access, UI bit, creating, how do we create UIs, charts, graphs, everything.
Okay. So what about the best practice? So is it all covered?
Yeah. Basically, best practices is
what
I have been discussing. Yeah. Well.
Okay.
Sorry. So while doing the topics, I was sharing the best practices as to what, when, how. So those are the best practices. There is nothing specific like a topic to cover. Yeah,
okay.
It's just one of the overall. So whenever you create QEDs, all these architecture, joining tables, what are the best practices? So those things is what best practices is all about. Right. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. Else probably we'll meet up tomorrow and follow with the designer part.
Yesterday I was talking about ETL process, right? Probably one of the reasons I don't like about the using QlikView to do all the scripting for ETL is because you have to, then it's live in QlikView only. If it's live in database, then it can be used for many different purposes later on. All right? If you just use that.
Okay.
I just want to, discussion, this is rather discussion or just talking, not rather than, the thing is like, if I want to change, then I have to stuck with the QlikView only. If you want something better come along in the future or something else.
True.
Yeah. Then you have to,
Absolutely. No, I completely agree with you. So in that scenario, yeah, data warehouse is the best option. So data warehouse has a couple of its advantages. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. So the main purpose of data warehouse till now it has been is like business intelligence and enterprise applications is what generally usage of a data warehouse is. When I say enterprise applications, maybe transactional services where from here data is picked up and used into your applications. Now if you are doing data warehouse only for business intelligence, then QlikView is the best suit. I mean, if you have not built it, you're building it only for this, I think QlikView will help you. If you have enterprise applications which need the data which is transformed after the transformations, then I think yes, you can have the data warehouse. You're absolutely right, Mark.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I have no questions.
Okay. I thought you were sharing something. Are you done? Sorry, or did I interrupt you?
Are we covering a server management? Or are we, right?
Server, no, not in. So server maintenance is a different, totally different course kind of a thing. But here what we'll be doing is, once we have the application, how do we update that onto the server is what I would be covering.
Okay, introduction. Okay. What do you think about security model in QlikView? Because so everything has to like you have to define every user, right? Rather than groups. Do you have a group management? Like to me like in SSCube, not SSCube, SSAS, Microsoft. I can use the group management. So if users in this group, then I can. Just what I have to do is just assign to a group, and then the group as a group it has access to certain things. Can you do that in QlikView? Make the user management easier.
Okay. So what happens is, QlikView as such is like a business intelligence tool. So what QlikView has done is, it is concentrated only on. I mean, this is the explanation that I've got from QlikView. Where these questions were raised. So they say that they are concentrating on business intelligence and they concentrate on that. For the security, what they suggest the enterprise or how the deployments work is, we integrate to Active Directories. Now, the Active Directory, when you say like organization would have invested in Active Directory groups, creating groups, everything. So QlikView doesn't want to run a parallel security management system within QlikView. So we just leverage whatever is there in your Active Directory groups. So you can use your existing Active Directory groups, everything for user management.
If you don't, then just have to manage manually, like every each user.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
If you don't,
because we don't have Active Directory, we are not implementing it. So
okay. Yeah. So then I think all your applications are independent security, right?
Yeah. We have kinds of. We have a custom application to do that, but it's not as complicated and sophisticated as Active Directory.
No, not okay. Like you have one particular application which maps all your security.
kind of, not really actually. Yeah, we just have to do every. I think it's done manually. Each application is its own way of
Okay. Okay.
doing it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir. QlikView does have certain level of inbuilt security features, but yeah, for groups or like being really that it's like it integrates to your enterprise applications quickly with Active Directory.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. My question, one more question is, so are we? So it's like a set analysis. You know, those are is part of the design course, is it? Right, that's right. Because
Right. That's
book, oh, yeah.
expression set analysis.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So if that comes in the designer part, so UI part.
Yeah. Okay, that's all for me, I think.